So these are three matchups that the UFC should put on UFC 300 to save the card. Now, first up, we have got Kamaru Usman versus Robert Whittaker. And yes, I know Robert Whittaker is set to face Paulo Costa at UFC 298. But Paulo Costa is a pullout merchant, like we all know. And he's even starting to come off with stuff now that he hasn't even received or signed the contract for this matchup. So the likelihood of these two guys actually fighting at UFC 298, slim to none. Kamaru Usman, Robert Whittaker, that's an insane matchup. Both guys aren't champions, they're in the same division now. Make it happen, it makes sense. Or if you aren't going to do this, then either rematch Usman and Hamza, which I'm personally not a big fan of, but two big names on a big card, it makes sense. Preferably though, if you can't do Usman Whittaker, then make Whittaker Hamza Chimaev. That's a massive fight also. Hamzat's a big star. Robert Whittaker's got a big name. But this matchup right here, you've got the former welterweight champion in Kamaru Usman, arguably the greatest welterweight of all time. Before everybody bitches in the comments, I don't believe that. I do believe GSP is, before everybody fucking cries. Then you've got arguably, well, not arguably, he is a top 3 middleweight of all time in Robert Whittaker. Stylistically, yes, we're not getting them in their primes anymore, but this would be a really fun matchup. Usman, obviously, is a decorated wrestler. Robert Whittaker himself isn't a bad wrestler, but has some very good wrestling defense. I don't know why I stumbled over my words there. We've seen him against Joel Romero in both of their matchups. He had insane takedown defense in there. Kamaru Usman carries a lot of power. Robert Whittaker is looking very chinny at the minute. Robert Whittaker is a lot faster than what Kamaru Usman is, and throws a really devastating head kick that comes off that jab. So, cross. He throws the cross, then the head kick behind it. And we've seen Usman get caught by the head kick, like Leon Edwards. It's just a fun matchup to make. I don't see anybody disagreeing with this matchup. In terms of who would win, I think Usman would maybe KO him. Maybe. I mean, we haven't really got to see how good Usman is at middleweight. Obviously, he took that matchup against Hamza Chimaev on short notice, and he arguably should have got a draw there. So it would be kind of hard to tell. But I'm going to go for a Usman finish. I feel like Usman will land that right hand on Whittaker, and he has looked very chinny recently, and I see Whittaker getting KO'd. Maybe not KO'd, but TKO'd. Next up, I nearly spoiled the last one. Now this is pretty obvious, and one that I'm unsure if they actually are going to make it, because we've seen Dana White come out and say that Gaethje isn't fighting for the belt next. It's whoever wins between Arman versus Charles Oliveira, which is a good matchup that is on UFC 300. And the winner of that is set to face Islam Makhachev when he comes back from injury. Now, there's a lot of speculation that Islam actually isn't injured. People have been saying they've seen him work out, etc., etc. I don't really know. I mean, you can still work out if you're injured. I mean, maybe he has a sore leg, he's doing pull-ups. I don't know. I'm just saying I don't see why Dana White would lie about that, to be honest. Especially when Islam has said he wants to fight in March. But anyway, if this isn't going to happen, if Gaethje isn't next in line, he needs to fight someone. The lightweights are booked up. You've got Dustin versus Benoit Saint Denis. Great matchup, by the way, for some reason on UFC 299. It's just to help Sean O'Malley because he isn't the star that he thinks he is, and the UFC are just overcompensating that card, so it makes him look like a bigger star than what he actually is. Anyway, that's a different topic. Then you've got Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor at 185. Then you've got Gamrot versus RDA. Who else is there? Fiziev's obviously injured. Gaethje's already fought him, and I don't see Gaethje fighting anybody lower than that in the rankings, let's be honest. So this matchup right here makes sense. And let's just go, in terms of featherweights, who's Max Holloway going to fight? He's not going to get the winner of Volkanovski-Topuria unless it is Topuria, and in that case, I think they do a Volkanovski rematch anyway. I don't think they would do Volk Max 4, even though I would like to see it. I don't see it happening. I know Josh Emmett has called him out, but a pointless, meaningless fight in my opinion. He's just beat Arnold Allen. He's suggested about moving up to lightweight to fight Justin Gaethje. This would be a perfect fight for UFC 300. Two big names, that stupid BMF belt on the line. Because Gaethje has no one to fight. Max has no one to fight. This is perfect. solves a lot of issues on UFC 300. Make it happen. In terms of this matchup, this is very tricky for me to decide. Now, Max Holloway will be more, he's a volume puncher. He doesn't carry a lot of power. He doesn't stop many featherweights. In saying that, he did stop the Korean Zombie in his last matchup, which was a crazy KO, but normally not known for his KO power. He is a volume puncher. We have seen him up at lightweight before. We've seen what happened when he fought Dustin Poirier, a guy who is a great striker in his own right and does have that power advantage. Gaethje will be very similar. He will look to counter Max Holloway, and the power advantage does go to Justin Gaethje in this matchup, obviously. However, Max Holloway does have that granite chin, but then on the other side, so does Justin Gaethje. And another thing that Max Holloway really struggles with is leg kicks, and Gaethje is one of the best leg kickers on the active roster today. For me, you kind of have to go towards Gaethje. I feel like, I don't know if Gaethje would finish him. I'm not too sure, because Max Holloway, like I said, has that granite chin. But then again, on the other side, I could see Max Holloway grows into his matchup, so he could then, in the later stages, just out-volume Justin Gaethje. So it's a really difficult one to choose between who wins, but in my opinion, I am going to go for Justin Gaethje at this moment in time, but make this fucking fight happen for UFC 300. And finally, this is a long shot. It isn't going to happen. I did say Adesanya versus whoever the middleweight champion is at the time is highly likely. That either being the Strickland rematch or the Dricus du Plessis matchup, and the Dricus du Plessis matchup is a mega fight, let's be real. Both guys, the hatred, the build-up, that would be awesome to see. But if you're talking about money fights, big fights to draw the casual people in, even just draw people into this so-called biggest event of all time, Adesanya, I was about to call him Kamaru Usman, Adesanya, Alex Pereira 2 at light heavyweight. Now, I think Alex Pereira KOs Adesanya at light heavyweight. Now, Adesanya has looked to be bulking up a bit. Maybe he's just getting into better shape for his frame at middleweight, or maybe he's finally going to move up to light heavyweight, take it more serious this time. He fucked about whenever he was moving up against Jan Blachowicz. Look what happened there. Maybe this time he's taking it serious. He's going to bulk up, put on mass, and get in there with Alex Pereira and finish the trilogy in MMA. At some stage, this has to happen anyway. Although the only thing that makes me think this actually is probably really unlikely, is the fact that Adesanya, when Pereira called him out after beating Yuri Prohaska, which was an early stoppage that Mark Goddard, who's on the screen right now, done, he said no, it's for Jamal Hill next, not for Adesanya. So it makes me think that Adesanya doesn't actually want to fight Alex Pereira yet at light heavyweight. But this is a massive fight, one that would save UFC 300. So yeah, those are three matchups I want to see at UFC 300. UFC, make it happen. Save the biggest card of all time by putting these three matchups on. Comment your opinion below what you think of these matchups. And as always, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Social medias are linked above. I really appreciate all the interaction. Whether you hate the videos, you hate my opinions, you love my opinions, you love the videos. I appreciate it all. It really does help, especially the constructive criticism and people that just aren't bitching. I appreciate that as well. And as always, I will see you again in the next one.